Caleb Cunningham, the top uncommitted wide receiver in the country right now. And what's going on with Cunningham?
Yeah, so Caleb Cunningham, he looks like he's the industry wide receiver 3, the number 20 overall player. He's an unverified 6'3", 185 from Choctaw County High School in Mississippi. Seems like all the SEC schools are on him, highly recruited, has tons of offers. He's also a basketball player, a track athlete. So you can see he's up here. He's a good jump baller. He's got good ball skills. Kind of got a little pep in his step. He's a triple jumper, which I like. So he's got a little spring to him. I think he gets off the line pretty well. Really coordinated. You can see that in his basketball highlights too. It's pretty obvious. I think I think his route. Here's so this is the one thing I saw. It's real subtle. He does like a little high step hezzy there, which I always like to see. He kind of freezes the defender, shows a little creativity there, and gets up the sideline. I think his speed is a little more build-up speed probably. What we have on him right now is a max speed of 20.7 miles per hour, which it's okay. We also have a 4.57 40 on him. So not like amazing speed or anything. But he was like hyper productive. He had 48 catches for over 1,100 yards, 14 touchdowns. So he had like 24 yards per reception. So he's a big play guy. Pretty good after the catch. It looked like he's playing really bad. So some of his negatives, I will say, is like he's playing really bad competition. His strength of schedule is 9.9, which is on the low end for sure. And he just kind of dominates these guys without even really trying. He is a superior athlete for sure. I think he has a limited route tree at this point. So that's kind of the off-putting thing about him, I suppose, is like we're always looking for guys that have more refinement, that can run routes and get open. Right, it's a lot of screens, a lot of vertical stuff. I thought that he was a little linear as an athlete in his route running, like kind of an up route route runner in general. So I don't know. It really comes down to expanding his route tree, just getting more polished in general, maybe improving his speed and filling out his frame. I can definitely see there's upside. I think it's kind of a little bit of projection at this point to have him ranked this highly, but I think it's a little bit of a down wide receiver class compared to the last class. So maybe he's ranked appropriately.
All right, a little lukewarm, Caleb Cunningham. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, a lot of the same. Before the show, I was saying I do see a lot of Cam Coleman in them, and that they're both these prototype X-build receivers who are both probably going to test pretty good. I don't think the numbers we have on Cunningham at the moment really reflect his athletic ability. I think he's, in the upper echelon in that area. My big concern is that he's definitely pretty raw at the moment. Pretty much only running vertical routes, and we have like no tape from 7v7 or 1v1s of him showing that he can do anything else other than run vertical every time. So that would probably clear things up, but at the moment we just don't have it. So what we know is what we know. I think he's probably a little bit better after the catch than Cam Coleman is. That was probably one of the areas I was more disappointed in Cam's game. Cunningham moves pretty good laterally. I think he's a really fluid athlete. As David said, pretty high-end basketball player too. I think there's a lot to like about him, but at the same time, I feel like we're starting to fade more and more of these prototype X builds unless they actually show some higher level of refinement. Because we're not really excusing guys for being big anymore. It's just it's either you're good at this or you aren't, and we're not size adjusting.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree though. He looks fluid, and I know he's not running a varied route tree, but to me, just his movements looks like he could. Now I do think route running is a lot of mental. and not necessarily only a physical trait. I think it's a mental trait and a nuanced trait. So, it still remains to be seen if he could actually do it when called upon. But it seemed to me that he was fluid enough that I could imagine him, doing a tight out route or comeback or something like that. Now, like you said, he hasn't really shown it on tape too much. Going to his basketball, he's like averages 18 and 8 over his entire career, going all the way back to freshman year, I think. So like really high-end basketball player. And I know Dave will like this. He's got a reel on Huddle that just says dunks only from like 2 years ago, I think. So we love to see that. The max speed of 20.7 doesn't bother me. I mean, max speed for a receiver is not really something I'm looking at too much. I mean, when it's really high, it's impressive because they'll just like blaze by anybody. But for the most part, especially a 6'3", 185 guy, like he's probably going to be more of a possession, not necessarily a deep threat. And I don't think separation to me is not max speed. Separation is a whole lot of other things. And so that doesn't really bother me. But yeah, I think the Cam Coleman comp is actually decent. I mean, that's pretty good right now. And we liked him, but he did fall towards the end for me as well. When I just kind of realized like some of the camp stuff, he didn't look, as refined as I thought, looked very raw kind of in those one-on-ones. The other thing I'll say about Caleb Cunningham is really interesting. No one has info on him. Like you say, we don't have verified stuff. Nobody does. 24/7 actually made the comment in their little write-up that like, he's like the most mysterious of all the top receivers. Like there's just not a lot of info on him or camp appearances or anything like that. So maybe because he plays basketball, so like he's just not around for some of these off-season things. But certainly a bit of a profile in the shadows right now. And we will see. I mean, he's going to be invited to all these all-star games and things like that. So that'll probably happen throughout the summer and at the end of the school year next year. So we'll see some more about him to be determined, I think, on Caleb Cunningham. But I can see the building blocks.